What is wrong with the world? Is this the question we should be asking? Will we find the answer we are looking for when we ask that question? Is the question what is wrong with the world? Or is the question what is wrong with us? What is happening inside of us that is creating the conditions in the world? We are not separate from the events taking place in the world. We are inseparable from them. So if there's hell being manifest in our external environment, then that must mean that people are burning in hell internally. The environment is merely a reflection of what is taking place within us. So with everything taking place, with all the presidential election and the government, the corruption, and the order followers taking everybody's rights away, and all of it is all absolutely external manifestations of what is taking place inside of the population on the earth, individually, collectively, simultaneously. So the question is not what is wrong with the world. The question is what is wrong with us? What is wrong with me? What is wrong with me? What is taking place inside of me that is leading to the manifestation of the conditions that I see in the world? Also, as long as you're only primarily functioning in the realm of thought, in the realm of the mind, then you cannot be creating anything new, anything fresh, anything real. How can you manifest anything real when you're coming from the past? When your creative essence is being lodged in past experiences, it's coming from a thought which is the movement of memory. You can bring insight into thought, which is something entirely different. Using insight, using a realization, but it's not even really a manifestation then. It's really just an equilibrium with your environment, with the world. An equilibrium with your environment, with the planet, with each other, with life. It's a realization that we are inseparable from life. We are life, and just living in that. Then if you want to say manifestation, then yes, we're manifesting balance. We're manifesting basic goodness in the world, not good and evil in the sense of polarity. I'm talking about basic goodness that transcends good and evil. So we got to work on ourselves. We have to be able to see ourselves intently, seriously. Like we have to be serious about this. We have to go and dive into these topics and these concepts seriously to see what lies behind the concepts, what lies beyond the words. And until we can see that, don't expect any change to happen on the planet. Don't expect any miraculous transformation to take place on the planet. Until we transform ourselves, the environment won't just transform itself. We have to take action in our own lives by seeing what is and allowing what is not to dissipate and dissolve. And a lot of people do not understand this. A lot of people don't understand this. They don't have, because they're trying to conceptualize it. They're trying to comprehend it with the mind. And yes, you use the brain, you use the mind. You use the brain and you use the mind to comprehend things, right? But you can't just use those faculties. You can't just be limited by those faculties. The brain has to be like an infant's brain, like brand new. It has to be fully online and activated to be able to allow this information to flow through it. You cannot think you have an idea. You cannot have an idea about something and be captivated by an image about something, about a person, about the tree, about the bird, about life. To see it, you cannot be captivated by an image. You have to see it directly without any thought. To see something beyond all thought, beyond all the mind, beyond all constructs, beyond all concepts, beyond all ideas, ideologies, beliefs, habits, addictions, to be able to see reality for what it is. And in that comes the transformation, comes that enlightenment process that takes place psychologically and spiritually. It's through seeing what is taking place, what is not comes to the foreground. And then we see what is not. We see the lies, we see the deceit, we see the corruption, and it literally dissipates and dissolves right in front right there. What is behind the observer and the observed? What is behind that? What is that energy behind that? This is what we have to go into within ourselves. And I don't want an answer. I don't want anybody to answer that to me. It is for us, it is for you to uncover and reveal within yourself. No one can answer that question for you. No one can tell you how reality works. No one can tell you how anything works, who God is. No one can tell you this. No one can tell us these things. These things are to be discovered within ourselves. I give a whole presentation on natural law. I give a presentation on care. I give a presentation on all these things. And I can give unlimited presentations, but until you see what I'm saying here, until you can see it within yourself, you will not be able to grasp or be in alignment with, or come in alignment with the concepts that I present in the presentations I give, and all the talks that I give, and all the things I talk about. You have to be able to sense them and feel them inside of yourself. What they're pointing to, what all these words I'm speaking points to. What is behind the concepts? What is behind the ideas, the words, the ideologies, the beliefs? What's behind all of that? And then what's behind all of that? And then you just keep going until you realize. So what's wrong with the world is what's wrong with us. And what's wrong with us is what's wrong with the world. You see the world as a direct reflection of what's taking place inside of mankind, inside of human beings walking this planet. And it's getting so outrageous because we are just outrageously outrageous within. And how else are you going to wake up? Or how else are you going to see without that outrageousness? How else are you going to see without you manifesting fire to burn you? To burn away what you are not, to burn away all those belief systems and all those attachments and all those things that are holding you back from seeing. How else? When you got 99.999% of humanity trapped in a mental prison of their own making, what do you expect the external circumstances to be? So we have to reach the individuals walking this planet and not blame the system for existing, because the system only exists because we are creating it and manifesting it for ourselves to get us to look at ourselves, quite frankly. Evil out here, there's massive amounts of evil out here. There's massive amounts of evil inside. It's a direct reflection of what's taking place. And I'm not talking about exposing it. I'm not talking about exposing the darkness, the evil, the corruption in the world. I'm talking about fixating on it. As long as we're fixating on it, we're not seeing it. We're not seeing the causal factors. We're not seeing the root of why that evil takes place in the first place, why that evil is prevalent and is widespread in the first place. Why does it exist? Why is it here? Do we not give birth to evil when we think in terms of good? Do we not give birth to bad when we think in terms of good? And again, I'm not talking about the basic goodness, balance. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the construct of good and evil. They're deadly. They're dangerous. You're walking on dangerous ground there. So exposure. We need to expose it. We need to expose the darkness. But at the same time, we need to be educating ourselves and each other on how to not get caught up in it, not caught by it and start blaming it. Because who's to blame? Who's really to blame here? Is it the Clintons and the corrupt politicians and the pedophiles and the Epsteins and the this and the that? Is it? Are they to blame? Or are they just outgrowths of your internal shit? Or are they just outgrowths of what's happening internally in the hearts and the individuals on this planet? And that's the question that you have to ask yourself. These are the questions that we have to ask ourselves. And sit with these questions and see what comes forth out of sitting with those questions. Not trying to answer them immediately, not thinking that you have knowledge on the subject. Knowledge will blind you unless you see past it. Knowledge will blind you unless you can see through it. What is that knowledge pointing to? What is that knowledge pointing to? That's the question. Why? How did the evil take place? How did the evil set up camp and take place and be so profoundly widespread on this planet? How could that even have happened? We are the ones manifesting the evil for us to face ourselves. We are the ones manifesting the evil and the darkness to face ourselves. So we need to be educating people on how to face themselves instead of being distracted by everything that's taking place on the planet. We're living in we're living in duality, and that's another problem. We're thinking only in terms of good and evil. Well, what's beyond that? Is there anything beyond good and evil? It's a question to ask yourself. What's beyond good and evil? Can we contemplate bigger than that? Can we contemplate something outside of that realm of good and evil? Outside of those two limiting structures? Outside of the image we have about good and evil? Outside of the image we have about the tree and the wife, our wives and our husbands? About the image we have about the squirrel and the grass outside? And the plants and the water and our phones and other people and me? What's the image that you hold about me? Because I'm not that. Until we can move past the images, we will not see. And that takes serious attention, keen observation of what is going on in here and in here. And then we can see out here. So as long as we're blaming the system for existing, the control system for existing, we aren't seeing it. We aren't seeing it. We are just blaming the effects for existing. We have to go to the root, and the root is inside of us. The root is inside of us.